Greetings everyone, it's Paulie, and welcome to Balls, where each week we discuss basketball and other sports in Western Australia and the culture. Today I have Charles Kativu and Coach Adam Forde with me. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us, man.
Now, firstly, I've got you both here today because we want to talk about basketball and COVID. I guess that's the big thing on everyone's minds at the moment with the season starting back up. I guess as an athlete and coach, you both know what steps clubs and players need to take to, I guess, protect themselves against COVID. So, I mean, starting with you, Coach Forde, is there some sort of quarantine you need to do, or, what extra care is going into?
Yeah, there's obviously, especially with the league, the NBL's putting some rules in place.
Yes.
Earlier in the week, for example, obviously there was some positive COVID results for the Melbourne United guys.
Yes.
Which obviously now has sort of sent the situation in Victoria. They can no longer train at the moment, but one of the things that's gone nationwide is only contracted guys. So where we had, for example, like a lot of college kids just back, still obviously weighing up what they were going to do.
Whether they're going back or...
some conferences in the States already, announcing that they're cancelling the season. So where they were working out with us, and I know Perth as well, unfortunately that's changed after this weekend, which is fair enough. But, there's some, for example, the disinfecting of the balls, the equipment.
Yes.
Just accessibility to the public, everything along those lines. And your typical precautionary measures. Obviously, it's a lot easier here in the West compared to
over East. Yes,
over East. But,
absolutely.
There's some real compulsory rules in place to sort of help prevent.
Yes. Now, just moving on from that, you're with the Sydney Kings currently, but also you've recently a huge announcement. You'll be helping out the New Zealand NBL.
Yeah.
In the off season, is that correct?
Yeah. So it's actually it's a real good league where now obviously a lot of the breakers, the tall blacks playing it, and there's a good contingent of NBL players that plays import players over there. So for example, like Sunday Dech, Nick Kay from the Wildcats last year were there, Reece Vague also with Daniel Grida. So there's a real good bridge between the two leagues, and especially with New Zealand, it's almost like the perfect season in that it fits perfectly in the off season in the Australian NBL.
Yes.
So a lot of these guys are able to do a combination of things. One, get more playing experience. They're able to supplement their financial status by playing over there.
They can keep their skills sharp by keeping their game up to the A grade and the highest level. Yes.
And more importantly, it's for the resume as well for guys trying to maybe explore into Asia or Europe. It's shown that they're in another professional league.
Yes.
That's the top tier league in
basketball.
So excited. It's something I've been sort of weighing up and admiring from afar the last couple of years. So the opportunity is perfect to sort of jump on board with Hawke's Bay next year.
And take it to the next level.
You bet.
Now, of course, the big news this year was the cancellation of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. And of course, with that, basketball and all other sports. And currently it's been rescheduled for 2021 July, but it may even be delayed further. We still don't know. I know the FIBA board met earlier in the week to talk about it. But what are some of the things that athletes and coaches are now doing to prepare for the Olympics, seeing that they've been postponed?
Well, the big thing, obviously, is, especially with tournament play, it's a pretty tight schedule in terms of team selection, preparation, finalising that roster, and then the tournament play itself. Because it's interesting, especially when you talk about, factors, for example, like load management. A lot of the philosophy you can do in a season sort of gets thrown out the window in tournament play where you're playing every day.
Yes.
And that's not even just at the Olympic level, but even under 16 nationals where guys go from playing in the junior ranks maybe once a week and they train twice or three times a week to then go and play
multiple games a day.
And some cases they'll play in the morning and the afternoon. So it's all, at the moment, it's all been put on hold.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits, obviously, with the NBA now back up and running.
Yes.
Hopefully that the NBL, doesn't get postponed any further or cancelled. That is penciled in for a December 3 start.
Yes.
The main thing is the guys now actually have more basketball. Whereas, 3 months ago, there was a lot of uncertainty. Even 2 months ago, there was a lot of uncertainty where the guys were playing. So, one, there's a fine balance too between maintaining your conditioning,
yes,
staying in shape, but then also burning out. So you don't want to do too little where you fall behind, but then also you don't want to do too much especially in the conditioning side of things. By the time preseason rolls around, your body's already burnt out. So that's probably the biggest balance at the moment. But especially with the FIBA and the Australian team, I mean, 2/3 of the team's going to be made up of NBA guys,
Yes.
and obviously they're back playing. So, that gives them that side of basketball. The remainder, obviously, being with guys in Europe and here in the NBL, hopefully sooner than later. So, yeah, everything's been probably put on hold right up until maybe 3 months before the expected start for the Olympics. But even then, as you said, there's still a lot of uncertainty with that.
A lot of uncertainty with, especially with the NBL. It's particularly, it's unfortunate that, they'd scheduled it to start and then everything, of course, flared back up in Victoria. So, it's hopefully we see the December start and the players get a run and Australia gets basketball again, because we've been missing that. Well, I'm just going to hand over to my co-host, Charles. Now, Charles, as a athlete, you can talk about loading and not burning out. What are some of the things that possibly athletes can do during this period before they go back to playing full time?
I guess during COVID, especially for guys in Melbourne, you can't really go to a gym to put shots up. So, staying with your general fitness at home. If you got weights at home, staying with the regular workouts every now and then. You're not drinking. You're not
keeping a
doing whatever.
balanced life.
Keeping a balance where you're staying focused. You know what you're doing. It's just a temporary lockdown.
Yes.
Just staying focused, staying locked, knowing your goals.
And as a coach, you need to check up on the players and I guess check that do you do much? Are you on their case or?
Yeah, it's a bit of, you don't want to babysit them too much.
Yes.
Especially during this time too, it's a great opportunity to study. And I think one of the best things, a coach or a trainer can do is almost give player comparisons for guys. Yeah. So, for example, let's say, someone who I've been watching, quite recently was a development player for the Perth Wildcats was Taylor Brett. And, he's having a great season in the showdown. And you look at it and you can, obviously he's in a better situation because he is playing. But one of those things where if you just want to touch base with him is you can do player comparison. Okay, here's Sean Bruce in the league. Here is someone else who carved a career as a facilitator and a backup point guard. Because the reality is especially unless you're Damian Martin or Mitch Norton, the majority of the point guards in the league are imports.
Yes.
So, a lot of Australians, they can definitely peak and be a starting point guard, but usually the start of their career, their rookie year, is they're backing up an import. And that'll be the same situation with Taylor Brett, especially that there's an opportunity available as a backup point guard here for the Wildcats, backing up Norton. So you give player comparisons. So you send video, you invite discussion,
Yes.
you try and get comparisons, but then also put a little bit back on them because, end of the day, this is their career and their job as well. So,
Absolutely.
yes, you want to keep tabs on them and you want to, touch base with them.
But you don't want to baby them either.
And you can't. And the reality is also in this industry, it's one of those things where the cream rises to the top. So the guys who want to put in the work and do the extra and do all these things are the ones that end up getting the rewards from it. The ones that sort of sit back and wait for handouts are the ones that usually get left behind.
Yeah, no, that's a powerful. Yes, it's so don't take this COVID time lying down. Get out there, guys. Make sure that you're all training, and even if your coach isn't checking up on you, check up on your players, check up on your friends. And I want to thank Coach Forde for your time today. Thank you so much. We're going to actually have a quick call with Dan Grida, so feel free to stay with us. Charles, you're going to stay with us as we do the call?
Definitely.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you, everyone, for part one of Balls. Join us shortly where we'll call Dan Grida. Okay, on the line we have Dan Grieder from the NBL Hawks. He's also played with the NBL Boomers in the 2019 squad and graduated the AIS with a scholarship in basketball. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks for having me, Paulie.
Fantastic. Now, how's the weather over there at the moment?
It's great. It's awesome out here. I've been to the beach a few times, so it's good. It's really nice, yeah.
And I want to congratulate you on once again being re-signed with the Hawks. Now, you came up for free agency earlier this year, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so played my first 2 years here with the Hawks and had a great time, loved it here. So I was super keen to get back and re-sign. Coach as well, so super keen to work under him. He's one of the best coaches ever, Brian Gordon. So yeah, super happy to be back here. And
You had a
playing
fantastic season last year as well. I mean, you really did an amazing job. So for them to
thanks so
re-sign you,
much.
it's a big pat on the back, and you've obviously done a great work with the team. Now, are there any precautions that you need to take when you're playing or training or meeting with the team?
Well, over here right now, it's probably not as far along as you guys are in WA. We still have to book court time. We can only be on the court for a certain amount of time. We have to sanitize everything, and like we have to book when we want to go lift. When we're in the gym, we have to wear masks, gloves, everything. So it's not as good as it is over there in WA right now, but we can make it work, and it's still really easy to get good work in. So
well, that's fantastic to hear, but still, I can't imagine how restrictive it must be training and wearing a mask. Now, the Olympics has been rescheduled to 2021, and people that are maybe wanting to be considered for the Australian squad. You've played for Australia before. What would they be thinking? What would they be doing to prepare in the lead up with it being delayed, do you think?
I'm sure they just have to switch their mindset and just keep working as hard as they can until it can get back in the process. So I'm sure it'll be tough for a lot of guys that are think this might be their only chance to play for the Olympics, because it only happens every 4 years, and 4 years is a long time, so it might be a pretty mentally challenging time for the guys that are looking to make the team, but I'm sure they'll get through it, and I hope, it'll be sick. I can't wait to watch the guys go out there and play.
It will be good. You don't realise how much you miss it until we don't have it. So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I'd like to wish you all the best for your upcoming season. I'll just ask my guests quickly if there's anything that they'd like to add.
Just a quick question, Dan. At the end of the season, you had a minor setback. You had an injury.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about how how you went down, and what it took to come back through that and come back and still feel like you're still the same guy. You're an athlete. What advice would you give guys that are injured and need that power to get back? I want to do this.
Yeah, well, what I did was I tore my ACL, which sucks. It's a pretty serious, one of the worst injuries you can do as a basketball player. Got my surgery done real quick and kind of just got straight back into it. I just focused on the little things, I could shoot free throws and stuff early on. So I just got as many of them as I could a day and really focused on my rehab. And I think that's all you can really do. You can kind of just focus on what you can do in the moment to get better. You don't want to live too far ahead, be jumping into stuff too early. So right now over here, they've my knee's still a bit swollen, so they've cut me back a bit. So I'm back to just shooting free throws for the next 2 weeks, and then after that they're gonna kind of ramp me back up again. But for guys that are injured, it's just got to focus on what you can do at the time and do it to the best of your ability and keep moving on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, bro.
That's great advice. Thanks, Dan. Coach Forde?
Yeah, Dan, just obviously now that you're back in New South Wales and you've had a couple of training sessions under Gorge, has he given you any insight into how he envisions you playing this year, or what your expectations are for the team?
Yeah, well, Gorge is still stuck in Melbourne. So I've been working out with the assistant, Jacob, who's been awesome. And we haven't gotten really that far yet. We're just trying to focus on getting me back on the court. But in my talks to Gorge on the phone, he said he wants me to do exactly what I do best, which is just, I'm not trying to really create for myself. I just want to catch and shoot threes and then get on the rim, run as hard as I can, play defense. So that's what he wants me to do, and that's exactly what I like doing too. So hopefully when I get back on the court, I can kind of show him that I can do that.
Awesome.
And one more thing. Through your career, what would you say would have been your greatest highlight that you can think of, that you feel like, this was my greatest moment, whether it was in the Boomers, whether it was with Illawarra?
I think so far it would have to be that first Boomers call-up, because I'd never represented Australia growing up, in the juniors or anything, so to get a call-up for the senior team for that qualifying round was the best thing ever. It's a different feeling putting on the green and gold, and it's just the proudest I've ever been. So that's definitely my highlight. Another one was the funny one. It's beating Willetton in my under-18 grand final. They were undefeated for years, so to finally get them, that was massive as well. As little as it seemed in the scheme of things, that was huge for me. No,
that's awesome. I would say I'm pretty sure it was last season. You got a massive swat on, I think his name is Sean Tate.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was massive.
That was a good one.
That was pretty cool, man.
That was sick. That was sick, yeah.
Well, thank you again, Dan. We appreciate your time. I'd like to thank our guests for their time as well. Dan, we wish you all the best for the season coming up. May the recovery come along nicely, and our fingers are crossed for your possible selection in the Australian squad at some later stage. So, yes, all the best, and thank you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, good, man. Good luck with your recovery, bro.
Thank you. See ya.
See you, Dan.
Once again, I'd like to thank my guests, Adam Forde and Charles Kativu. Now, you'll be able to get their details in the description section under today's episode. Gentlemen, before I go, is there anything else you'd like to say, a shout out to anyone, or anything you'd like to promote or endorse?
As a co-host, just a massive shout out to Adam Forde and Daniel Grida for joining us on the show today. Yeah, and thanks to you for being a great host.
Thank you, Charles. Coach, any?
No, I appreciate you guys having us. It's great what you're doing for basketball here in WA.
Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you next week with Balls.
Under 4 left, the barn is alive again. 52-51, Illinois.